to honor the 5 separate services that make up our total armed forces: the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard. So it's also a tradition at this ceremony for the people, the members, either current service members and also veterans from the different services, to stand when your service song is played. Now, to honor the Army, it is my pleasure to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Joe Grant, United States Marine Corps.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Colonel Grant.
I'd like to offer a salute to the United States Army, the greatest army in the world, who for 234 years has guarded this country. Those soldiers throughout history have demonstrated courage beyond belief, and they continue to do it on a daily basis in Afghanistan and Iraq. A salute to the United States Army.
Cheer for the Army. I would now like to introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Ken Carlson, who is a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point and a former Army officer, and he will honor the United States Marine Corps. Ken?
I was so overcome with emotion, I was unable to stand for the, that's not only the Army song, that's the artillery song, and I'm an old artilleryman. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Colonel Grant. I did some research and reached out to my Marine Corps friends for some humor, but I found them to be a rather humorless group. But to a man, they said to me, Ken, please make sure the people there understand that we are only part of the Navy, that we are a department of the Navy, and we're the men's department. My research also told me that there are really only 2 groups of people in the world that could possibly understand a Marine. That would be the Marines themselves and the enemy that they've faced. Everything else would be a secondary opinion. And so I developed a secondary opinion of the United States Marine Corps as a young Army officer serving in Okinawa in the 1960s. It was my pleasure to serve with Major J.R. Vargas, United States Marine Corps. We were fellow aides to general officers and thrust together on many occasions. J.R. was poker straight, Hollywood handsome. He could have been the poster boy for the Marine Corps in his dress blues, but he wasn't. He also had a Purple Heart on his chest with 5 gold stars, meaning that he had been wounded 6 times in Vietnam. He never spoke of it. I never knew what happened. He left, and several months later, I saw his picture in the Army Times, receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor from Richard Nixon. Later years, I read about J.R. Now, I know every Marine is not Hollywood handsome. We saw Colonel Grant here tonight. Although he is poker straight. And they don't all win the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I'll tell you what, J.R. Vargas, for me, will always represent the men and women of the United States Marine Corps who call themselves the few and the proud because they are. So join me in a salute to the men and women, past, present, and future, of the United States Marine Corps.
Now, I know it's going to be a tough act to follow, but I'm now here to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Don Accomando with the United States Air Force, who will be honoring the United States Navy. Lieutenant Colonel Accomando, your microphone, sir.
Thank you, Glenn.
I wouldn't try this for the Army or the Marines. Very tough group and great speech, by the way. For the salute for the Navy, though, I've written a sonnet. We'll call it a salute to the Navy. To our brothers in white who float to the fight, here's to the Navy. Each branch has a general, one sea, air, and land. But it's the chairman from the Navy, he's in command. Navy blue, Navy beans, Cracker Jack and blue jeans. Here's to the Navy. To the branch of defense whose rank makes no sense. Here's to the Navy. 4 years to captain is what is our pace. Our Navy brothers can't win this race. Here's to the Navy. Squids and seals are taught to fight. The other branches use dogs that bite. Here's to the Navy. Their ships and subs run deep and swift, an appointment with the enemy they keep. Through calm seas and rough, they float with such force, always on target, always on course. Their mission, no doubt, is dangerous and hard, bringing the battle to the enemy's backyard. Huge floating cities up to the test. If it weren't for the Air Force, the Navy'd be best. Here's to the Navy.